The Browns are making a notable roster transaction today. They are releasing defensive end Ogbo Okoronkwo. They are making the move to clear a roster spot to add kicker Andre Szmyt, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But let's talk about Okoronkwo's time in Cleveland coming to an end, because he was a decent, sized free agent addition a few off seasons ago. He signed a 3-year, $19 million contract. He was going into the final year of that contract. I mean, I had tossed him out there as a cut candidate for a little while now. And then as we got through the off season, like March and April, he wasn't released during free agency. He wasn't traded leading up to the draft. Him and Greg Newsome were kind of dangled out there as trade candidates, and no trade ever materialized. And the Browns decide, you know what, we're going to ultimately just cut bait altogether. Can't say I'm terribly surprised by this. I mean, sure, it's a notable name, and you'd think, hey, there's got to be someone worse than Okoronkwo out there just for, finding an extra spot for a kicker. But I think this is a move signaling the Browns are just accepting that Okoronkwo has not lived up to their expectations. He's approaching 30 or just turned 30. And they really like what they have in some of their younger defensive ends, like Isaiah McGuire. Remember how good he was last year down the stretch, especially after they dealt Zadarius Smith and Alex Wright went down with an injury very early on in the season. So I think the positive takeaway from this is the Browns throughout the spring and the practices during that period saw some really encouraging stuff from the former Mizzou Tiger, that they feel like, you know what, we don't need to hold on to Okoronkwo as some kind of like insurance policy. We like what we have in some of our younger guys. So that's one way of looking at this news here. I remember when they signed Okoronkwo, because it was the first free agent signing of the offseason for the Browns. It happened like day one of NFL legal tampering free agency and not very long into it. And I remember everyone was pretty excited about the signing because some of the advanced analytics told you really good things about Okoronkwo. He was with the Texans the year before. He generated a lot of pressures, like pressures per rep, you know what I mean? Per pass rush was a really good metric for him. And a lot of the nerds were like, this is a really good signing. And I kind of went along with it because no one likes to be a rain cloud when everyone else is excited about some free agent signing. But I should have stuck to my guns a little bit more, and shame on me for being a coward, because my gut told me I'd never heard of this guy before. I don't think it's probably the best, honest response for me to hype him up to everyone when I'm just learning about him for the first time. So I should have stuck to my gut, and I should have gone with, not terribly excited about this signing, because I'll be honest, I've never heard of this man before. And I watch a lot of football. I know you guys, some of you think I'm dumb and I don't watch anything, but no, watch a lot of football. Never heard of Okoronkwo before that moment. And I probably should have leaned into that gut feeling more, because we'll look at his stats right now we'll put them up on screen for you guys. There were 2 seasons with the Browns, 4.5 sacks in 2023. He had a shoulder injury. I think it was a shoulder injury. Cut his 2023 season kind of short. Remember, he didn't get surgery, and he came back for the playoff game, I want to say. Anyway, I remember going into the last year, he's like, I'm going to get 10 sacks this year. And I was like, hell yeah. I mean, that is just, sink your teeth into type of a quote right there. And then he put up 3 sacks in 16 games. So he did not surpass his career high in sacks with the Texans in 2022 with 5, which he had 5 sacks in 8 starts that year for Houston, played all 17 games. And Andrew Berry and the analytics saw, hey, this is a guy that with a bigger runway, with more snaps and more opportunities, those 5 sacks could balloon up to probably realistically 8 or 9. And for 3-year, $19 million, 8 or 9 sacks, when we're paying a guy about $6-ish million and change, you're paying a little under $1 million per sack. That's not a bad exchange rate right there. Just didn't pan out in Cleveland. Just didn't happen. So Okoronkwo's time with the Browns comes to an end. I'm excited for this defense because I still feel like they've got a lot of good core pieces and they just got to bounce back. And I know that's easier said than done, but the framework is there. We saw what they were capable of in 2023, and I refuse to fully accept that 2023 was just purely a fluke. You know, I'm thinking about the last 2 years for the Browns defense. 2024, if you ranked it 1 through 32, the Browns defense was probably about 16 to 18-ish. Maybe you could bump it up to like 12 to 16, but it was not a top 10 defense. In 2023, the Browns defense was top 5 without a doubt, and you can make a serious argument for them being number 1, right? And I don't think we should just hand out the best defense in the award, best defense in the NFL award, you know, very casually. So if they're not 1, fine, but they're 2 or 3. Between those 2 years, I think the 2024 season was more of the fluke. And I think the Browns defense, I expect the defense to get back towards what they looked like in 2023 more than the way they played in 2024. So Okoronkwo's time with the Browns, like I mentioned, coming to an end, which I think signals a good emergence coming for Isaiah McGuire. I'm just pulling up the depth chart right now. So they've got Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire, you know, obviously Miles. They, if you recall, added Joe Shoyinka. He was the first-round pick by the Bucks back in 2020. He never really found a spot on the Bucks depth chart from a consistency standpoint. Kind of bounced around a little bit of like a positionless. I don't want to go positionless. That's a bit of extreme, but he floated around across the defense. So we'll see what the Browns ultimately do with him. But yeah, like I'm saying, I think you can expect, you know, Miles and McGuire are probably your 2 starting pass rushers right now, with Okoronkwo out of the picture. And then Alex Wright, assuming he's healthy, coming off that tricep injury he suffered in the Jags game last year. We got the safety. He should probably be the first guy off the bench, and then Tryon Shoyinka, I'm sure I'm getting like that wrong, him to come in for relief as well. And then we'll see, you know, if someone else kind of emerges throughout training camp, maybe it's a UDFA, maybe it's a rookie, you know, something like that. But that's what we got going on in the defensive side of things. They also added a kicker, Andre Szmyt. That's how you pronounce his last name. I'll save you guys the Google search. So Dustin Hopkins has some competition. I kind of thought Cade York was on the team. I've kind of forgotten where the hell Cade York is. He came back, was released. I think he went to another team. I don't know. Someone let me know where Cade York is. We need a Cade York tracker. But anyway, Hopkins gets some kicker, you know, competition added, which that's a good thing. He needs competition after the way he played last year. It was an abysmal season. I mean, the guy straight up cost him games. There's no other way to put it. He cost the Cleveland Browns games. I'm all for some kicker competition. So Andre Szmyt comes over. You know, we'll see how far it goes with him. A lot of times teams will bring in a second kicker or a second punter, and they're there for 2 weeks once they feel confident in their starter, and they go, all right, we don't need to steal reps away from the starter right now, so we're going to move on from you, but we're glad that you could help us out by getting that kicker or getting that punter, you know, kind of right on the right track with a fire lit underneath them. All right, that will do it for us on today's video. So the big news of the day, Okoronkwo released by the Browns. We're going to have another video tomorrow because that was going to be today's video. So I'll push it to tomorrow about some good news the Cleveland Browns got. And by the Cleveland Browns, I mean the Browns themselves, Jimmy Haslam, because green light coming for their fancy new stadium in Brook Park. And I'll share all those details with you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, do me a big favor. Click the like button down below. It would go a long way to help, support the channel, support the video. And if you're still watching all the way to the end of the video, drop an emoji in the comment section. That's my secret way of you and me knowing who is a part of the end of the video crew.